we just don't get it yet. You know, the whole thing of circumcision started out. We're not mostly Jewish, by the way. So that wasn't our thing. It was started because, you know, they thought, oh, masturbation, that's a problem. It's causing cancer. So what do we got to do to reduce masturbation but cut off a piece of the penis? And I find it highly ridiculous that a story in 2013 would go, controversial studies find that circumcision lowers sexuality, when it's like, yeah, that's the point. That was the entire point in the beginning, is to reduce sexuality. So young boys sitting there in their bedrooms were less likely to jerk off. Or as we said earlier in the show, choke the chicken. The whole intention was to make masturbation not as good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it didn't stop me, but, you know, I'm sure I do get sad once in a while wondering what could have been. Could it have been better? I don't know. And again, how puritanical are we still if in other countries they figured it out and they go, you know what, maybe it's a bad idea to be doing this. And Americans, we look down upon Europe. We're going, oh, France are the worst. They're a bunch of pussies. Well, I bet they don't cut their penises in France. You know, you can hate France all you want. And I get it. You know, they eat snails. They're weird people, but I bet they don't cut their dicks. Belgians? Yeah, they have nothing going for them but waffles. But they don't cut their kids' dicks. And somehow, in America, we just stick to things because this is the way it is and we're not changing our minds. We're so sure of ourselves. We're like, we don't need the metric system. I don't care if base 10 is better. We have this made up thing of inches and yards and all this stuff. You know, we drive on the right side of the road because everybody else doesn't. And we want to be not them because we're America and we do things our own way here. I would be, you know, it's almost, I would feel like we'd come up with our own religion just because, you know, fuck everybody else. That's something I feel like we would do. Just because we do everything else differently, because we want to just throw it in the face of everybody else. Oh, you guys don't cut the dicks of your babies? We're going to go ahead and keep doing that. Whether or not science is not a fact, we don't need to worry about science. Because clearly, if we're not using the metric system, science is not important to us. We still use Fahrenheit instead of Celsius. Which is, it's just a dumb word in general, Fahrenheit. But that's what we use. It's not based on 0, it's just 32. That's freezing. Why? I don't know. Ask the guy who invented Fahrenheit. His name is probably Fahrenheit. And he's probably an idiot. All right? Because the man who invented Celsius, whose name is probably Celsius, has a better system. And we don't care if there's a better system. Because we don't want to change our ways. We're too set in our ways. It's like if they came out with a better language. We wouldn't be like, oh, that's a better language. Let's get on that bandwagon. We're like, we speak American. We're not going to change that. What are we going to do after that? Open up our borders and just let anybody in? Start letting the Mexicans take over? We speak American? And we use inches and yards and feet. Feet, ladies and gentlemen. What are we, medieval? And again, still cutting the penis because we seem to think, based on numbers that aren't even true, that this is reducing HIV or its cleanliness, or based on old stuff, which is just all about, you know, just reducing sexuality because they think masturbation causes cancer. If I can jerk off 3 times a day and I don't have a tumor anywhere around my genital region, I think that is null and void. I think I'm fine, and I think that's an old thing. And this applies to everything. Look at, you know, Reefer Madness, this movie based off just racism. Ooh, we don't like black people. A lot of them smoke the marijuana. Let's make it illegal, and then let's make it stay illegal up until now. Up until, like, the past couple years that they start to be like, you know what, pot's really not that bad. In fact, it's almost less bad than alcohol, one might say. If you were to look at the facts, you know, if you were to look at the death rates of alcohol and drunk driving versus the death rates of marijuana, which is smaller than the death rates of deaths by pen caps. I wish I was making that up. And yet, there's so many people in America who say, we can't change our mind at that. War on drugs. It's bad. Because as my dad said when he read the paper and somebody said in a column one time, and that's how it is. And that's why we're so puritanical. Swearing is still this bad thing. It's just recently that you got to say shit on cable TV, and that wasn't a huge shocker. FX was one of the first, and that was just a couple years ago where that just became okay. Still, saying the F word is, again, like I said before the break, worse than dropping a bomb. And I swear to God, I wish I had statistics, because I'm pretty sure it's true. That if you were asked to ask most people, they'd be like, I love the idea of drones, kill the brown people. I'm sure I can trust the government to sort them all out and make sure that the good ones and bad ones, they got that all figured out. Even though they've redefined imminent combatant and just about everything else under the sun. And basically, they'll define you as a terrorist if they've killed you. That's how that works. So, yeah, just trust them with that and the bombs and everything. And, Hiroshima, that was a great idea. People still think that's a great idea. Oh, something bad happened. Let's just drop a nuke on civilians that had nothing to do with the thing that was provoked by something we did because we wanted it to happen. So let's drop 2 nukes. It's just a perfect excuse for us to try something out. Well, we have these bombs. Got to use it on somebody. Now, Iran can't have them. North Korea, they can't have them, but we can totally have them. And we're sitting there, we're like, we can have nukes. And we can have all of these destructive things, and the violence and murder is totally cool. And yet you can't swear. And nudity is like the worst thing ever. Clearly, if you go on the internet and judge the amount of regular websites versus the amount of porn websites, most people like the idea of people not wearing clothes, and yet they won't necessarily readily admit it in public. Oh, you'll have the most regular guy. Trust me, the more regular you are, the more messed up stuff you're jacking off to. I guarantee it. You want to bring it to any extreme? Look at any Catholic priest. They take it to that extreme where they're in such a job where they can't marry and they can't have sex, where they end up having, doing the buttholes of little boys. Because people, that's how, it works. There's urges. That's something we have. You can't deny that. And we're so set in this, we can't even talk about sex. In 2013, in America, this so-called free country, we can't talk about it, that it's still a weird thing. You can't really bring it up and have an honest conversation about sex or even nudity. A nipple is like the worst thing that you could show on TV. Guy getting his head blown off, that's probably seen all the time. But a nipple, God forbid a child sees one of those. Wait a minute, didn't they suck on those before they were making memories? That's what I was thinking. This is Off the Air Live.